dive into my presentation, I want to paint a couple of scenarios for you. So let's look at the first scenario, and a number of my fellow participants on this launch event will find this disturbingly familiar. You're a new company. You've just launched your great product, your game-changing app, and congratulations, it's gone viral. You know, thousands of users in week 1 are taking a look at it, downloading it, tweeting about it, and you've had a successful launch. And now in week 2, you've got to figure out what's next. You know, where should you spend your marketing dollars so that you continue this ramp of users? What features are people liking? What you should build next? And you don't have a data infrastructure because your 8 engineers, they were off building a great product. And so now you're flying blind in the most critical phase of your company, the post-launch period. Or you're a mid-sized company, and you've built or bought a data infrastructure using open source technologies or a traditional data warehouse. Your open source technologies aren't scaling, and you want to move to the cloud. You know, and this is going to cost dollars and engineers to manage otherwise. Or you're a large enterprise, and you have a data infrastructure, but you've just launched a new mobile app, and you'd love to take that data and check it against your website, where you can see the engagement between the two. But that's not going to be easy to do. Adding a new data source to an existing on-premise data warehouse, it's going to involve IT to do ETL, hardware, software, licenses. So what I've just painted are 3 scenarios where your big data nightmare can only be solved with either a big cost or a big headache. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be this way. And that's why I'm excited to announce that launching today, available on Amazon, is BitYota's next generation data warehouse as a service, accessible by anyone, anywhere. Now that's a pretty bold statement. So let me back it up by a little bit about who we are. So we've been at it for about 14 months, and you know what? We're a bunch of data geeks. We've been doing this, building big data platforms at companies such as Yahoo, Oracle, Symantec, Veritas, TIBCO, and so on. And we're backed by some pretty sharp investors who think this is the team. We have the team, the talent, the tenacity to pull this off, to really disrupt data warehousing. We're based in Mountain View, in Google's backyard, 15 and growing. So let's take what I said, you know, the next generation data warehouse as a service. What are we offering? What do you get when you get that? Well, the first thing you get is it's 100% SaaS. Now, Salesforce has taught us 100% SaaS means no hardware, no software, no hassle. What's that in the context of a data warehouse? You don't have to figure out the size of your box. You don't have to figure out what storage, what happens when your volumes start filling up. It's 100% SaaS, which means we manage it for you. It's not your headache anymore. The second thing is, look, it's a data warehouse, which means you have to get data that's not around there into it quickly, whether it's in your on-premise solution or in other cloud structures or in unstructured data. So what we're offering is one-click data integration across a number of different sources. So we connect to S3, Couch, Mongo, you name it. But we go one step further than that. Not only do we connect to the data, we understand its nature. What does that mean? We understand its format, we understand the schema, the rate of arrival of change, and we allow you to integrate all of that in one so that every time your data changes, you can load it at a preset frequency using. You don't have to worry about it. Once you point us to your data source, we are good to go. The next thing is accessible analytics. And so we support true SQL. You know, it's not SQL-like, it's not a new language, it is SQL. So that means your analysts, your business users, your developers can get going right away. We're going to understand all your native SQL queries that you've already written. We also connect to your favorite BI tools. If you're using Tableau, MicroStrategy, you can hook it up directly to the data stored in our data warehouse as a service using our ODBC API. And the last thing is, and this is really our secret sauce, we are built from the ground up to run on the cloud. We run on commodity hardware, whatever Amazon gives us, as well as giggy networks. And this allows us to scale affordably as your users and data grow. So I'm going to show you an architecture slide. The first thing is, like I said, 100% SaaS, which means we abstract the cloud for you. You don't have to manage your cloud infrastructure. We're going to auto-provision storage and hardware. We're going to enforce your data policies as you like on the cloud for you. The second one is one-click data integration, so I talked about this. Bring your data from wherever it is onto the cloud easily, and make sure that when you're doing change data, that we capture that change data capture for you. The last thing is, the third thing is around SQL. So analysts, if you have a SQL statement that you're using to analyze your data, you can type it right into our query console. If you're a developer and you have a great CTR algorithm you've written in Perl or Python or whatever, you can plug it in without any modifications, accessing the data in our data warehouse. And your BI tools are available as well. So again, I'm going to say all of this is built and managed by us. It's 100% SaaS on the cloud for you. So enough slideware. I want to show you how this thing works, because this is exciting for me as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of our scenarios. I'm going to be a bookseller, and I need to decide what kind of book inventory I need for the holidays. So one way to do this is to take a look at what people are talking about and reviewing and writing about on Amazon, looking at Amazon customer reviews, and then be able to make some good business decisions right on the fly at that time. To make that happen, I'm going to have my friend Soren come up, and Soren's going to walk us through the demo, which is I'm going to point to an S3 data source. The one-click data integration is going to kick in. And sorry, can we go back to the slide that I had? So the one-click data integration is going to discover the nature of the format. It's going to then auto-provision at that time nodes on Amazon for this. We're going to decide how much storage you need, what kind of cluster size you need. All of that's a decision and calculations done by us up front. And we're going to load that data right away for us to then query in the space of 5 minutes this data using SQL. All right, so let's get going. Soren?
Hey.
Hey, Soren, before I dive in, this is a monumental occasion. How does it feel to be launched?
Oh, it's feeling great. This is a very great opportunity to actually launch a product here now this time. So that's great, yes.
All right, what are you going to show us?
So I'm going to show one-click data integration from the bookstore source that you were just talking about. So as a bookseller, I have my data sitting in many different locations. I have data assets sitting in S3, I have it sitting in Mongo, I could have sitting in MySQL databases all around. We can import all that and integrate it into your systems, into the warehouse, so you can start querying against this data in a uniform way.
So that's a list of structured and unstructured.
This is a list of structured and unstructured data, and it consists, like if it comes from S3, you don't really know what kind of data you have. So the first thing that actually needs to happen when you do data integration here is that you need to actually go out and discover the type of files that you're having, and then find out what the format is. And that's what we're doing here right today. We basically are clicking on a sample source that we have loaded up here today. It contains all the book reviews from Amazon.
How big?
So,
how big is your data?
Oh, this data set is millions of rows, so basically we don't have to know up front how big it is. The system, once it starts sampling it, it will actually then discover the size of the data set. So this is actually a million of several million rows that we're talking about here today.
Okay.
So what happens here is that as soon as you click on it, it will start going out and it will basically look at what the file is. It will start looking at some of the records, and it will come up with a determination of that this particular file here is a comma-separated file. So it would be able to import that, but it could have been another different kind of file that had like either JSON, XML, or any kind of unstructured data in it, and it will understand that as well, and it will present you that as a choice.
And those are SQL data types, right?
So these are SQL data types, and it's basically pulled in here. So the file is just a flat file. It will pull it in, it will basically understand that there's certain columns in it. It will try to assign the different kind of types that goes into it. So now we will assign the types to create the SQL schema for you that you can pull the data into from this external data source. So you do an integration of this right here on the fly.
So this is a one-time verify that this is what you really want your data to look like?
This is one-time verify. I mean, you could actually, if this data was recurring, like it was generated every hour, every day, it will suggest that that you should basically do that kind of ingestion, and it will schedule it for you so that the data will be fed into the warehouse on that recurring basis.
So if I'm super anxious, I could load this new reviews happening every hour from Amazon and keep checking.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And if and you can set up your recurring queries. So now your analysis of the data can happen on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, whatever is the frequency of your data coming in here.
Okay. And what are you going to do next?
So what I'm going to do next, I mean, I'm going to basically just ingest it here. What happens when you start ingesting it is that it will go out and provision storage and compute for you. So you don't have to manage that yourself. We will determine based on your needs what kind of instance types that you need to have, how much storage you need to have, and we will basically go out and we will provision that for you. So that becomes like a managed service for you. It's a SaaS service end to end. And as soon as you got the data loaded in here, you can start writing queries against it. You can start writing queries against it, and you can use the data type.
The query there?
So here, the query here is, I want to understand the kind of books that is around Dune. So Dune the book, we want to understand some filtering around it and basically just get a first look at what the data is for that. So I have used simple operators here that is familiar to anybody who's been using SQL. And who doesn't know SQL? Everybody can write SQL these days. So because this data was imported using SQL data types, you can do string manipulations, you can do string matching, you can do date manipulation, you can do operators. And if you are not happy with just the operators that is provided for you here in SQL, you can actually extend it with JSON, Python, and so on and so forth, and write your own operators in your own languages. And you can call them directly from the same SQL statement here as well.
So I can do date ranges, and I can do last week, before that, and just have this, as I'm incrementally loading my data, it's moving a rolling window on this query.
It is exactly like that. You can decide whether you want to have a rolling window of your data and basically just look at the last 30 days, if that's what you want to do, or you can look at the full set of data from the beginning of time. All the data has been loaded into the system.
Okay.
And we now executed the query here just to get the identifiers out of this, and that would be the first step in analyzing the data. So there
Fantastic.
you go. It's a one-click integration, and the data can basically be queried right after that you integrated it.
Fantastic. Could we switch back to the presentation, please? Okay. So what Soren did, and imagine if you're a business and time to market is critical for you. What Soren did was take a data source, millions of rows, analyze it on the fly, provision storage and hardware for you, and then give you a SQL prompt all in the space of 5 minutes. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty powerful. So I just want to leave you guys with a few messages. If this sounds anything like you, if this is your scenario, you have multiple data silos you got to bring together. You have so much stuff on S3 you can't even keep track of it. You can't afford to keep building and maintaining your cloud infrastructure and your data infrastructure, and you want to move to the cloud. Or you've got business users saying, it's just taking too long to get the answers I need to run this business. Come by our booth, we're right there, K1. The site is live. You can give it a free trial at www.bityota.com, or you can always email us. Thank you.